Hope by J.N. Wdowski. Copyright 2024. For your full enjoyment, be sure to read or listen to the end. Tuesday. Jenny rose an hour earlier than usual. She had taken a morning shower. She now stood in only her underwear in front of the floor mirror in her bedroom. She examined her body from every angle as she twisted into different positions. Fluffy, half asleep, was laying on the floor beside her. Not lifting her head, she watched Jenny as she twisted and turned. Jenny looked into the mirror. Okay. I am not Ms. Raintree. She looked at Fluffy. I am only 4 years older than her. I am still young. Fluffy said nothing. Jenny, looking back at herself in the mirror, placed her hands under her breasts and pushed them up and together just a bit. New bra? She looked back down at Fluffy. Looking back at the mirror, she took hold of her small stomach. I could lose a little and tighten up. She turned and placed her hands under her piku cheeks, lifting them up a bit too. I can tighten that up too. I should use the gym I pay for each month. Jenny sighed. A little work. I could be almost as appealing as Ms. Raintree. She looked at Fluffy again. Fluffy rested her head on her front legs and said nothing. Dressed in a satin light blue blouse and a long pleated navy blue skirt just above her knees, Jenny returned to the mirror to inspect herself once again. Not bad. Not bad. She looked down at Fluffy, who was now sitting beside her, and more attentive. Think I can turn a head or two? She asked Fluffy. Fluffy gave out a small yip. Jenny sat at her kitchen table that was up against the one window in her small kitchen. Finishing her coffee, she looked up at the clouds above. She checked her phone. Bit cloudy today, but no rain. That's good. She looked down to the street below through her kitchen window. The city, though, could use a downpour. Jenny stood waiting for her bus. She smiled at the older woman that stood next to her. The woman was professionally dressed and had an umbrella hanging on her arm. The woman did not return Jenny's smile. Instead, she quickly glanced at Jenny, clenched her handbag tightly, and took one sidestep away from her. Jenny could see the bus stopped at the next intersection. Morning rush hour seemed heavier than usual, and cars and taxis continuously honked at each other. The bus finally had a green light, but cars crossing the intersection tried to beat their yellow lights and were blocking the bus to make its way to her stop. Raindrops began to hit her face. The old woman looked up and opened her umbrella just before the rain got heavy. As the downpour drenched Jenny, she thought to herself, much heavier than the water pressure in my shower. Ms. Romini, have you heard of umbrellas? Ms. McDowell asked her as she walked past her off the elevator. It's Romano. Jenny softly corrected her supervisor. Ms. McDowell paid no attention to Jenny as she continued to her private office on the far side of the floor. After work, Jenny had bought herself an umbrella. She stood under it as the rain came down. She began sneezing from spending a good part of her day in soaked clothes. Evening rush hour was again delaying her bus. Behind her, Ted Fink was hailing a taxi. One pulled up in front of him, and another man in an expensive suit with a young blonde woman pushed Ted aside. They got inside his taxi and closed the door. Ted protested. Hey, that was my taxi. The man, ignoring him, turned to give directions to the cabbie. The woman was laughing as the taxi pulled into the slow-moving traffic. Jenny finally got on her bus. All the seats were taken. Having to stand, she grabbed a strap next to two healthy young men that were sitting. They both looked up at her briefly. She smiled at them. Indifferently, they looked away from her, returning to their conversation. They began laughing and sharing mundane stories about their co-workers and supervisors at their company. The bus suddenly jerked forward, making Jenny almost lose her footing on the bus's wet floor. When Jenny got home, she opened her hallway closet and put her new umbrella in a bucket filled with over a dozen different types of umbrellas. Fluffy tilted her head as she looked at Jenny. Yes, I bought another. She tried to make fun. Perhaps someday I will open an umbrella museum, and people from all over the world will come to see it. Fluffy gave a soft yip.
Thank you. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.